Before you even think about how to attract him, stop, breathe, look inward, because the real question isn't how to pull him closer. The real question is, have you pulled yourself together first? You can't attract someone who sees your worth if you haven't seen it in yourself yet. You can't expect him to treat you like a queen if you keep treating yourself like a servant to your own insecurities. The truth is, your power doesn't come from his attention. It comes from your intention. And let me be honest, power doesn't mean being loud, bossy, or aggressive. It means being undeniably certain about who you are, what you stand for, and what you will never again settle for. When you truly own your power, you don't chase love. You don't beg for texts. You don't shrink your personality to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You walk tall, knowing that anyone who doesn't see your value simply isn't meant to hold space in your life. Power is subtle, but it's magnetic. It's in how you walk, how you speak, how you say no without guilt and yes without fear. It's in how you light up a room, not because of your outfit, but because of the energy you carry. It's how you stop competing, stop comparing, and start glowing in your own lane. And here's the magic. The moment you stop trying to impress him, you become unforgettable to him. Too many women are taught to mold themselves to be agreeable, to be convenient, to be easy to love. But the truth is, you were not born to be easy. You were born to be extraordinary. You are not here to dim your light just to make someone else more comfortable in your presence. If he can't handle your brightness, he's not your match, he's your lesson. Owning your power means knowing your worth even when you're alone. It's building a life that excites you, with or without someone beside you. Because love is beautiful, yes, romance is thrilling, but your sense of self. That's sacred, and if you lose yourself trying to win someone else, you've already lost the most important battle. So here's what it looks like in real life. You wake up and show up for yourself. You keep promises to yourself. You work on your dreams, not just your appearance. You're not available to just anyone. Your time is a privilege, not a given. You stop over-explaining your standards to men who were never qualified to meet them in the first place. You stop twisting into a version of yourself you don't even recognize, all to fit his type when you were always the type. You build a life so beautiful, so whole, that anyone who enters it sees it as an honor, not an obligation. When you walk into a room, you don't wonder if you're good enough. You ask yourself, does this room deserve me? Not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. Because once you know who you are, you stop negotiating with people who only offer you fragments of love. And this part is important. Owning your power doesn't mean you don't want love. It means you don't need it to feel complete. You're open to it, you're excited by it, but you're not defined by it. Love is a bonus, not your baseline. When that energy shifts, everything else follows. Suddenly, he's not just seeing your looks or your charm, he's feeling your strength. And that's what stays with him long after the conversation ends. Because power isn't loud, power is stillness, it's grace. It's the way you can sit across from a man and not need his validation because you've already validated yourself. It's the way you don't play games, but you also don't play small. It's the way you can be soft and fierce at the same time. You don't have to become hard to be powerful, you just have to become whole. So, before you try to get his heart or win his mind, stop and ask yourself, have I won my own? Do I respect myself deeply enough to walk away from what doesn't serve me? Do I cherish my own time, my body, my energy? Am I leading a life I'm proud of, even if no one's clapping for it yet? When you lead with your power, the right man will see it and lean in. Not because you asked him to, but because he'll feel it in his bones that this isn't just another woman. This is a force, a presence, a woman who doesn't just want to be loved, she embodies love. A woman who doesn't just want to be chosen, she chooses herself every single day. That, darling, is how you stop being an option and become the only obsession worth having. There's a quiet kind of power in not revealing everything at once. In today's world where everything is shared instantly, where people mistake oversharing for intimacy and attention for connection, being mysterious has become rare, and rare is always valuable. But let's be clear, there's a difference between being mysterious and being a mystery. A mystery is confusing, distant, emotionally unavailable. A mystery leaves people feeling uncertain and disconnected. But a woman who is mysterious, she's unforgettable. She's magnetic. She leaves people wanting more, not out of manipulation, but because she reveals herself with intention, not desperation. Being mysterious is not about playing games or acting cold. It's about having depth. It's about letting someone earn the right to know you, piece by piece. It's knowing that your mind, your heart, your energy, they are sacred, and you don't just hand them over to anyone who smiles your way. You show up with authenticity, yes, but you also understand that not everything needs to be explained, exposed, or justified. You don't let the world see all your cards because you know the power of keeping a few close to your heart. When you are mysterious, you create a sense of curiosity that cannot be faked. You let your presence speak louder than your posts, your energy louder than your words. You let people discover you slowly like chapters in a novel they never want to put down. You're not unreadable, you're just not downloadable in one scroll, and that difference is everything. Let's talk about relationships. Too often women are told, be open, be real, tell him everything. But the truth is, not everyone is ready to hold your whole story, and they shouldn't get the whole story until they've shown they can hold space for it. You don't need to narrate your entire past on the first date. You don't have to share every heartbreak, every childhood trauma, every goal and fear just to prove you're deep. Emotional intelligence is knowing the difference between connection and oversharing. A mysterious woman knows her truth, but she doesn't use it as bait. She doesn't rush the connection. She lets it build slowly, organically, beautifully. There's something undeniably attractive about a woman who isn't in a rush to be understood. She doesn't fumble over herself trying to prove she's worthy. She doesn't flood him with information, affection, and validation. She moves with calm assurance, like she knows that anyone meant for her will meet her where she is, without needing a fast-forward button. She doesn't act hard to get. She is hard to get, not because she's playing games, but because she values her time, her energy, and her emotional availability. You see, being mysterious is not about being quiet, it's about knowing when to speak and when to observe. It's knowing that not every silence needs to be filled. It's the way you look at someone when they speak, fully present, not distracted, not performing. It's in the confidence of not having to prove you're interesting, because you know you are. It's in the way you can walk away without creating drama, because you're grounded, not reactive. And it's not just about romantic relationships. In life, a mysterious woman commands attention without demanding it. People remember her not because she was loud, but because she was real, selective, and centered. She knows how to speak volumes with a glance. She knows how to leave an impression without needing to dominate the room. Her energy lingers, not because she gave too much, but because she gave just enough. Let's be honest, we live in a world where people are addicted to constant validation. Social media encourages us to spill every detail of our lives. But mystery, that's a woman's secret weapon, because when you protect parts of yourself not out of fear, but out of strength, you teach the world to respect your privacy, your process, your pace. You show people that not everything beautiful has to be immediately available. So no, you don't need to play hard to get. You just need to be so deeply in tune with yourself that you become a journey, not a destination. You don't offer the map to your heart to anyone who asks. You let them walk beside you long enough to earn the clues. You give people the gift of discovering you over time, not through pressure, but through presence. There's nothing more captivating than a woman who doesn't need to be seen to feel valuable, who doesn't need to be heard to feel powerful. Her mystery doesn't come from silence, it comes from substance. It comes from having layers, boundaries, and a rich inner world. When she speaks, people listen. When she loves, it's deep, but she doesn't give herself away easily. She understands that her time, her story, and her soul are not open for public consumption. They are reserved for the few who have earned access, so don't be afraid to hold a little back, not because you're hiding, but because you're honoring. And remember, when you are truly in love with who you are, you won't need to prove anything. You'll know that the right people will always want more of you, not because you made them guess, but because you made them feel. That's the difference between being a mystery and being mysteriously unforgettable. There's something undeniably magnetic about a woman who knows exactly who she is and where she's going. She doesn't need a spotlight to shine, she brings her own. She doesn't wait for permission, applause, or approval. She moves with intention, with clarity, with fire. And in a world that tries to make women believe their beauty is their greatest asset, let me tell you this: purpose is the new sexy. It's not the dress, the makeup, or the perfect angle that makes people stop and stare. It's the energy, the drive, the unapologetic ambition of a woman who is building something bigger than herself. When you are deeply connected to your purpose, whether it's a career, a cause, a creative pursuit, or personal growth, you walk differently. You talk differently, you love differently, because your life doesn't revolve around being chosen by someone else. It revolves around choosing yourself every single day. A woman with purpose doesn't shrink herself to fit in. She doesn't pretend to be less intelligent, less driven, or less passionate just to make others feel comfortable. She owns her space, she fills the room, and she inspires not because she's trying to, but because she can't help it. Her presence carries power, not performance. She's not here to impress, she's here to impact. When a woman is in her purpose, she becomes unforgettable. Men notice, people notice, not because she's trying to be seen, but because she's in alignment. She radiates confidence, not the kind that screams for attention, but the kind that whispers, "I know who I am." She doesn't chase love or attention because she's already full. Her passion is her perfume. Her goals are her glow. Her ambition, that's her aura. You want to be the kind of woman who walks into a room and makes people curious not because of what you're wearing, but because of what you're carrying inside. There's depth, there's drive, there's something going on behind your eyes that tells the world, she's not here to play small, and that's what makes you different, that's what makes you magnetic. Let's be honest, we've all been taught, directly or indirectly, to focus on being attractive, to keep ourselves polished, likable, palatable. But let me ask you, what's more attractive than a woman who wakes up with purpose, who creates, who leads, who builds, who learns, who grows? A woman who's not afraid to take up space, not afraid to dream big, not afraid to fail forward. That woman, she's the new standard. She's not trying to be someone's dream girl. She's living her dream life, and in doing so, she becomes the woman that people admire, remember, and gravitate toward. Because while looks can catch the eye, purpose captures the soul. And here's the thing, when you live with purpose, you stop settling. You stop entertaining relationships that go nowhere, conversations that drain you, and situations that disrespect you. Because your time becomes sacred, your energy becomes selective, you understand that every minute you spend chasing someone who doesn't value you is a minute stolen from your mission, and your mission. It's too big to waste. There's nothing more beautiful than a woman who is in love with her own journey, who doesn't wait for a relationship to validate her, who doesn't need a title to feel important, who creates value with her presence, not her proximity to someone else. This woman doesn't just inspire love, she inspires respect. And trust me, that lasts a lot longer than chemistry. A purposeful woman is also resilient. She's not afraid of challenges because she understands they're part of the path. She turns rejection into redirection. She knows that setbacks aren't signs to quit, they're signs to level up. She doesn't crumble when things get tough. She adapts, she evolves, she learns, because when you're driven by purpose, nothing can break you, it can only shape you. You don't need to have it all figured out today. Purpose doesn't mean perfection. It means alignment. It means waking up every day with something to contribute, something to work toward, something that lights you up from within. Whether it's writing, building, teaching, healing, designing, leading, or loving, your purpose is what gives your life fire. And that fire, that's what the right person will be drawn to. The man who's meant for you will not be intimidated by your ambition. He will not ask you to dim your light so he can feel bigger. He'll stand beside you, not in front of you. He'll admire the way you carry yourself, the way you move with focus, the way you chase your dreams without hesitation, because he'll understand that loving a woman with purpose is the most thrilling ride of all, full of passion, power, and progress. So forget being sexy in the way the world told you to be. Be sexy in the way only you can, build your empire, love your life. Be so full of purpose that you no longer seek validation, you attract alignment. That's the real glow up. That's real attraction. That's what turns heads and keeps hearts. Because at the end of the day, a pretty face may be noticed, but a woman on a mission, she's never forgotten. There's a quiet elegance in knowing your worth and not needing to announce it every 5 minutes. In a world that often teaches women to settle, compromise, or be realistic, it takes courage to say, "This is what I want, and I will not apologize for it." But here's the truth that too many people misunderstand. Setting standards is not about being demanding. It's about being clear. It's not about being difficult. It's about being intentional. When you set standards, you are not giving someone a list of impossible expectations to meet. You are simply declaring with grace and certainty what is acceptable and what is not in your world. You are drawing a line in the sand that says, "This is how I expect to be treated because this is how I treat myself." And that is not aggressive. That is powerful. An ultimatum, on the other hand, is rooted in fear. It's usually a last-ditch attempt to force someone into choosing you, behaving a certain way, or stepping up under pressure. It says, "Do this or I'm gone," often thrown out as an emotional weapon. But the problem is, ultimatums usually come from people who didn't set boundaries in the first place. And when you haven't been clear about your standards from the beginning, you end up trying to control someone instead of simply walking away when they show you who they are. A woman with standards doesn't need ultimatums because her presence is already a privilege. She doesn't beg, she doesn't bargain, she doesn't wait around hoping someone will change. She chooses peace over pressure. And if someone can't meet her at the level she's on, she lets them go with love and with no drama. Setting standards starts with one thing: self-respect. It's not about what you demand from others. It's about what you refuse to compromise within yourself. It means you don't accept breadcrumbs when you're offering the whole feast. It means you don't confuse effort with excuses. It means that love for you must come with consistency, care, and clarity, not just chemistry. Here's what it looks like. You communicate what you need without shame. You say, "I value consistency, honesty, presence." And you say it early not as a threat, but as a mirror, so they know who they're dealing with. You show up as your full self, and you expect the same in return. You're not harsh, you're just honest. And if someone flinches at your standards, they were never meant to hold your heart in the first place. Because here's what no one tells you when you set standards: the right people will rise. Not because you pressured them, but because you inspired them. Because people can feel when you carry yourself with intention. They can sense when you are not afraid to walk away from what doesn't serve you, and nothing is more attractive than a woman who doesn't need to be chosen because she's already chosen herself. Now, don't confuse standards with rigidity. You can be flexible, understanding, and open while still being grounded. Life is not black and white, but your self-worth shouldn't be a gray area. It's okay to grow, to compromise in healthy ways, to meet people halfway, but you should never shrink, abandon yourself, or twist into someone unrecognizable just to keep someone in your life. Standards are also about energy. Who you allow into your space affects your peace, your confidence, your joy. A hive, Al. Your woman doesn't just guard her heart, she guards her environment. She protects her vibe. She's selective not because she's arrogant, but because she understands that not everyone deserves access to her softness, her wisdom, or her time. And let's talk about relationships, romantic or otherwise. If someone is inconsistent, disrespectful, or emotionally unavailable, a woman with standards doesn't threaten to leave. She doesn't scream, cry, or chase. She simply exits because her peace is non-negotiable. Her time is precious, her love is sacred. She doesn't wait to be treated better, she walks where she's already valued. The woman who sets standards doesn't need to raise her voice, her actions speak. Her silence speaks louder, her boundaries are felt even in her absence, and when she speaks, people listen not because she's loud, but because she's clear, clear about what she wants, clear about what she deserves. And most importantly, clear about who she is. So don't be afraid to set the bar high. Don't water yourself down just to be easier to swallow. Don't pretend you're okay with things that leave your soul unsettled. Speak your truth, stand in your values, and if that intimidates someone, let them walk. You're not here to convince, you're here to align, because the right person won't see your standards as pressure. They'll see them as inspiration. They'll want to meet you there not because you made them, but because you reminded them what real love, real respect, and real connection actually look like. And that, darling, is not just powerful, that's irresistible. There's something incredibly attractive about a woman who loves fiercely, lives fully, and isn't afraid to feel deeply. Passion is powerful. Passion is the fire in your eyes, the spark in your voice, the conviction in your dreams. It's what makes you unforgettable. It's what brings color, energy, and purpose to everything you do. But here's the line you must never cross. Let your passion fuel you, not consume you. Because the moment passion turns into desperation, you lose the very essence that made you radiant in the first place. You can want something or someone with all your heart. You can be wildly invested in your goals, your relationships, your future. But when that desire turns into attachment, when your identity becomes tangled in an outcome, that's not passion. That's fear, and fear makes you chase, beg, overgive, and lose yourself trying to hold onto something that's slipping through your fingers. Desperation is loud, it's exhausting, and worst of all, it pushes away the very things you're trying to attract. But passion is different. Passion is rooted in self-worth. Passion says, I love hard, but I won't beg. I care deeply, but I will not lose myself for someone else's comfort. It says, I show up fully, but I do not stay where I'm not valued. That's the kind of energy that draws people in, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're so unapologetically aligned with yourself that your presence becomes a force. A passionate woman is not afraid to express her feelings, but she's also not afraid to walk away when those feelings aren't being honored. She doesn't wait around hoping someone sees her worth. She knows her worth. She lives it, breathes it, walks in it. And if someone doesn't recognize it, she keeps moving. Not because she's cold, but because she's clear. Let's be honest, we've all been there. We've all had moments where we've wanted something so badly we tried to force it. We over-explained, overstayed, overloved, thinking that if we just gave a little more, tried a little harder, proved ourselves one more time, we'd finally get what we wanted. But that's not love, that's a plea. That's scarcity disguised as effort, and it always leaves us empty. The truth is, desperation smells like insecurity. It shows up in the way you chase people who give you crumbs, in the way you ignore red flags because you're afraid to be alone, in the way you twist yourself into someone else's idea of love instead of owning your own version. It's trying to force closeness where there's distance, trying to hold on to potential instead of reality. But a woman who's passionate and grounded, she's a different kind of force. She gives love but doesn't perform for it. She's present, not clingy. She communicates, not pleads. She's open-hearted, not wide open to just anyone. Her standards don't disappear when her feelings grow stronger, they become sharper, because she understands love is not about losing yourself in someone. It's about finding someone who meets you where you already stand whole, complete, and on fire with purpose. And this doesn't just apply to relationships. In every area of life, career, friendships, creativity, being passionate without desperation is the key to magnetism. It's saying, I believe in what I bring to the table, and I don't have to scream to prove it. It's knowing that if one door closes, another one will open because you don't need to force your place anywhere. You create your own space, you become the room. This kind of energy is rare, and that's why it's so captivating. Because in a world where people are constantly performing to be liked, to be chosen, to be accepted, the woman who simply is herself without attachment, she stands out, she radiates, she attracts without effort, not because she's chasing attention, but because she's rooted in authenticity. Being passionate means you care deeply, but you don't crumble when things don't go your way. It means you give your best to your work, to your people, to your life, but you don't hinge your identity on the result. You keep your fire lit no matter who stays or leaves. You know who you are even when things get uncertain. That's what makes you powerful. Desperation is scarcity. Passion is abundance. Desperation says, I need this to feel whole. Passion says, I am whole and I'm here to build, to grow, to love, to create. The difference is everything. So be the woman who loves hard but never begs, who dreams big but never chases validation, who gives fully but never sacrifices her dignity. Your passion is your power, but only when it comes from a place of self-love, not self-abandonment, because at the end of the day, anyone can want, anyone can desire. But it takes real strength, real confidence, real grace to say, I want this, but I don't need it to be complete. I will show up fully, but I will not lose myself. I am passionate, and that is my power. There's a time in every woman's life when she has to decide who she's going to be, not just in love, but in everything. Will she be the shelter, soft and safe, waiting to be needed? Or will she be the storm, powerful, wild, and impossible to ignore? The truth is, you weren't made to be anyone's hiding place. You weren't born to be the calm in someone else's chaos while silencing your own fire. You were meant to move mountains, shift energy, stir souls, and yes, sometimes even shake the ground beneath someone's feet. Being the storm doesn't mean being destructive. It doesn't mean being reckless or out of control. It means being the kind of woman who walks into a room and changes the temperature, who lives by her own terms, who creates waves rather than waiting for permission to ride one. It's knowing your worth so deeply that you no longer shrink, soften, or silence yourself to make other people comfortable. See, we've been taught for so long that being good means being quiet, being soft, being patient, being agreeable, but there's power in not being easy to predict. There's power in being the woman who doesn't just go with the flow, she creates the current, because the storm is not chaos. It's change, it's transformation, it's disruption that leads to elevation. You are not here to patch someone else's wounds while ignoring your own. You are not here to be the emotional cushion for someone too afraid to face themselves. You are not the place someone runs to only when life gets hard, when they're bored, or when they need validation. You are not the backup plan. You are not the afterthought. You are the main event, the power source. The reason people remember being the storm means choosing power over pity. It means walking away from situations that diminish you even if they come wrapped in sweet words and temporary attention. It means no longer playing small so someone else can feel big. When you become the storm, you stop asking, why don't they see my worth? And start asking, why am I giving my energy to someone who doesn't? People will try to tame you, to box you in, to tell you to be less of everything, less opinionated, less driven, less independent, less emotional. But remember this, if you make yourself small enough to fit into someone else's version of love, you'll suffocate. You'll disappear, and eventually you'll wake up wondering where your fire went. You don't need to be less. You need to be seen as you are, and the right people, they won't fear your storm, they'll respect it. They'll meet you in your strength, not run from it. They'll understand that loving you means loving someone who knows her power and isn't afraid to use it. But to be the storm, you have to get honest with yourself. You have to stop apologizing for your intensity. Stop hiding the parts of you that are loud, passionate, bold, and driven. You have to stop waiting for someone to give you permission to take up space. You don't need to be someone's safe space. If it costs you your soul, be safe for yourself. Be honest with yourself. And if someone can't handle all that you are, wish them well and keep walking. Let your presence be felt. Let your voice carry weight. Let your standards rise so high that only the strong, the self-aware, the equally powerful can reach you. And when you love, love with intention, love with strength, love with boundaries. Love in a way that lifts both you and the other person, not drags you down trying to fix them. Because you were not created to save someone who refuses to swim. You are not the rescue boat. You are the storm that teaches people how to rise or how to drown, not in cruelty but in truth, in clarity, in the reminder that you are not here to be convenient, quiet, or controlled. There's a reason storms are feared and admired all at once. They command attention. They change landscapes, they leave impact, and so will you, if you stop dimming your power for people who only feel safe when you're small. The moment you stop trying to be the safe place for people who don't value you is the moment you begin to unleash your full force. Not for destruction, but for creation. You are the one who births new realities, the one who breaks patterns, the one who shakes stagnancy and makes room for the new. That's what storms do. That's what you do when you stop asking for space and start taking it. So stop trying to be liked, be respected, be unforgettable, be undeniable. Be the woman whose energy lingers in the room long after she's gone, not because she begged for attention, but because she is the attention. Be the storm, not the shelter, because your power was never meant to be hidden, it was meant to be felt.